Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and do this right quick here. Let me change some stuff around here right quick. I hadn't been a couple days, so let me go ahead and switcheroo. There we go. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do the share screen here. Okay. Apologies for me being a couple days late. I just wanted to try to take a little break and everything and whatnot. There are several things I could talk about, including Pfizer having a COVID vaccine. The thing is that it's got to be stored very cold, and also, of course, it was a good play by Pfizer, and that now they made more money. So I don't really care necessarily about that. Joe Biden's continuing to have his team, this and that. What I really want to get into, though, there were like at least several videos I could talk about with Bo the Fifth Column and seeing his transition into how he's going to react to the president, and how he's going to, how he says that Republicans and Democrats are not the same thing because they have different rhetoric. That was basically his only argument in the other video. And of course, you show him the rhetoric of, Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton talking about Gaddafi or Joe Biden talking about Serbia. And of course, he's just like, I'm sorry, but so I trolled him a little bit on that. I felt like I didn't really, Basically, though, then he changed his mind where it's just like, well, I think he realized how full of shit he was. And now he's on this line of, well, it's up to us to make these changes. All you're going to get with every president is just reform. That's all you're going to get. So let's go ahead and get into this video by Bo the Fifth Column, a.k.a. Justin King. I decided to wait a little bit. So, yeah, I'm sorry for not having the mic on. I want to get this out of the way right quick. This is just going to be a shorty. And then maybe tomorrow we'll do watch a movie. But yeah, we're not going to worry about that right this minute. So let's just go ahead and just a quickie to keep the vibe going. Okay.
Hey there, Internet people, it's Bo again. So today we're going to talk about Biden, what he plans to do, because he is going on with the transition as best he can given the current circumstances. He already has some of his advisors. He has that kitchen cabinet already meeting, already giving him advice, and he's already making decisions, and he's pushing.
Some of whom are people that worked in Amazon, people that worked for Google, other places like that. But you're going to leave that bit out. I know. That's okay. I know that doesn't make a difference. Go ahead.
Information back out to the press related to some of his decisions to remind them of what he's going to do. Now that the campaign is over, he's not really making campaign promises. He's announcing plans.
Yeah.
One of the things that his team pushed back out to the press is how he plans to revamp the refugee program, the U.S. refugee program. If you don't know, this is something I care very deeply about. It's something I watch very closely.
Something you went to jail for because you decided to work for three Abrahamic people who threw you under the bus because you brought refugees in from, I think it was the Baltic. I think there were countries like Lithuania and Estonia, this and that. You brought those folks in, and they were working for like shit wages, this and that. And you did time in jail for it because they decided to throw you under the bus, buddy. But yeah, you can take the L on that all the time. I think he made a video about it. But yeah, this guy.
The U.S. program is broke. It is broken. It needs real change.
What isn't broken? What isn't broken in the United States? What's going on, Rod Dog? What's going on?
Deep change. It needs to be completely redone. It is way too hard to get in. It is way too hard to qualify for refugee status. And there's a cap. Trump pushed that cap down to $15,000 per year. That is ridiculously low. It has been much, much, much higher than that in the past without issue. before we go any further.
Without issue. Okay, go ahead.
Just to cut off some comments that I'm sure might show up. Gaming the refugee program to gain admittance to the United States to be an undocumented worker isn't really a thing. That's something that President Trump made up.
Are you sure? Are you sure there aren't people that overstay their visas, this and that? I mean, if you want to say that, okay. I mean, but okay, go ahead.
Through the refugee program, you have to have contact with law enforcement. Generally speaking, if you're going to try to exist in the shadows in the United States, you don't want to provide fingerprints and biometrics and all of that stuff, which is part of the refugee program. We are moving into a post-Trump facts matter era.
That's hilarious. No, we are not. If you want to say that, okay, but yeah.
Okay, that's not a thing. He made that up. Okay, so the cap is currently at 15,000. Biden could have scored liberal brownie points by doubling that number. That would have been the story. Biden doubles Trump's cap on refugees, tripling it even, taking it to 45,000. Rank and file Democrats would have clapped. They would have been okay with it. More than likely, they would have been like, yeah, look, he's doing something about it. Wouldn't have been okay with me.
Just allowing people in doesn't make a difference. But yeah, go ahead.
I want real change. And that's not even a reform that's really that good.
What does that mean? I don't think he does. Let me make sure here. I just watched this through one time. I don't think he elaborates on, I want it to change. What does that mean? I think he's done in other videos like, live next door to your, migrant neighbor or whatever the case may be, and you have a gun on the wall. Some real dumb shit that he said. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
What's going on, Tim?
The number that Biden dropped was 125,000. It's pretty substantial. It's not the change I want. I don't think there should be a cap. But that's a reform I can get behind. Odds are we won't reach that number. More than likely, we will not reach that number. But nobody's going to get turned away because the cap's full.
He's going to spread some very humanistic sort of fear-mongering sort of thing that we're letting people die, which I think is not very smart.
And the thing about the refugee program is that if somebody gets turned away because the cap's been met, when they're sent home after walking up here, they're going to die.
You don't know that. I'm not even saying that to like defend anti-immigration or whatever the case may be, but it's like, bro, immigration, and I was watching some videos earlier this week, just kind of talking about the kind of like the defectors and all that, and the defectors are some of the biggest shills you'll hope ever meet. People like Yeonmi Park, who left, or Park Yeon-mi, I guess you should say in proper Korean, but left North Korea and probably did the same thing that they all did, or most of them did. They crossed over into China, and then they made their way to South Korea. These are folks who sell themselves out. There's a Russian or a Soviet pilot, I think technically he was Russian, but went to Japan, gave, I think it was a MiG-25, MiG-25. He had a wife and a kid back home. Had no concern whatsoever. He thought about himself because he was a selfish jackass. Came there, left, started his own family out in Wyoming, I think it was Nebraska, something like that. Started a family out there, didn't even give a shit about his other family back in what was the Soviet Union, what is now probably Russia or wherever, Ukraine. These folks have no scruples. The immigrants of, the first generation will at least try to hold on to some of the values, this and that. but they just want the freedom. They want the, they want to be able to do what they want, basically, to a point. And of course, then you get the second and third generation, which feel like they can, they're too Americanized and they're destroyed by, the current values that hold up today. It's unfortunate.
That's the purpose of the refugee program. It's why it's so hard to qualify.
I did not.
Because
I did not see that. Tim, and genuinely see here. What did Assad say about refugees? Right quick. West preventing millions of refugees from returning to Syria. Huh. Syrian government is working to secure the return of millions of refugees who fled the war in their country, but Western sanctions are hindering the work of state institutions, complicating those plans, President Bashar al-Assad said Wednesday. His comments came at the opening session of the Russia-organized two-day international conference in Damascus on the return of refugees. The event is being boycotted by many Arab and Western countries and has been criticized by the UN and US, who say the time is not ripe yet for the return of refugees. Tuesday's conference was held in a giant hall with participants, most of them wearing masks, observing social distancing, blah, blah, blah. Neighboring Turkey, a main backer of the Syrian opposition forces, was not invited. Well, no shit. Another neighbor, Jordan, which also hosts Syrian refugees, did not participate. Lebanon's outgoing Foreign Minister, Charbel Wehbi, addressed the gathering by video conference, although Wehbi spoke from Beirut, Lebanon, sent a delegation to attend the conference headed by the Minister of Social Affairs, whose ministry is in charge of dealing with Syrian refugees. Lebanese are deeply divided between supporters and opponents of Assad. Sergei Lavrov. Syrian opposition coalition criticized the conference, saying it cannot be organized by the criminal who is responsible for the crime. Bruh, give me a break. The return of refugees can happen only after bombing of rebel-held areas stops and a political transition is achieved. Oh, once again, are you going to tell me that that you want to cede Idlib to Turkey, or what are you even saying? What are you even talking about, bro? I mean, Idlib right now is just, it's just, anyway, what a load of crap. Yeah. What's going on? Big boy pants are on, exactly, yep. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this tripe up.
Basically have to prove that if they send you back, you're not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Like anywhere on the planet.
What? They don't have to do that. They don't give a shit what you do. They're like, no, the cap is met. Goodbye. That's all they have to do. They don't have to worry about where you are on the planet. They don't give a shit.
So, even if Biden is a one-term president, 4 years, every person that comes in excess of the 15,000 that Trump had, is a life saved.
How do you know that? Once again, that is false hope. You are feeding people false hope by saying that, Justin. You are feeding people false hope. You can't guarantee that people are going to be saved because they go to another country. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. If the Civil War broke out tomorrow, you think that they'd be in a better place? No, they wouldn't. So this idea, he keeps on saying lives would be saved, nearly 500,000 lives would be saved. You can't guarantee that. You don't know that. That's a big assumption, my friend.
That could be 440,000 people over the course of 4 years. It's not the change I want, but I'd be remiss to not accept a reform that's going to save almost 500,000 lives.
Thing is, he doesn't say any single country, does he? He doesn't talk about Syria. He doesn't talk about Honduras. He doesn't talk about, Nicaragua is still pretty under control. He doesn't talk about, Venezuela. Doesn't say any specific country. Doesn't talk about their different cultures or anything else like that. He says none of that. He just says, we're going to save lives. We're going to save lives if we allow these people in. And then he tries to roll it back a bit. You could tell that, I think I had an effect. I do want to pat myself on the back and be a little bit arrogant and say I think I got to him when he said suddenly that, the Democrats' rhetoric is better than Republican rhetoric. This is what he said in the video, and I'm just like, no, that's not true at all. And I think that he suddenly realized, okay, maybe, now I'm just going to say is that it's up to us to decide what to do. I'm going to stick with this rhetoric. I'm going to stick with the usual bullshit that I always say. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I can get behind it. I can defend it even.
Really?
Not the change I want, but a reform I'm willing to accept. And I'm certain that there are people out there right now saying that our foreign policy is behind a lot of these refugees.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Once again, though, let's take a look at the guy who's going to be Secretary of State, who's going to be really talking about this. New Secretary of State. Okay. Mike Pompeo at a press conference. I don't really care. Let's see here. New Secretary of State under Biden. Okay. So let's take a look here. Let's take New York Times foreign policy, I think. Let's go ahead and see who Biden is going to pick. Once again, let's go ahead and see who he going to likely pick. Secretary of State, Susan Rice. One's a top contender for Biden's running mate. Certainly been a mainstay during the Obama administration. She served as ambassador to the United Nations during President Barack Obama's first term, and then national security advisor. But withdrew her name from consideration following the controversy surrounding the 2012 Benghazi terrorist attacks. Democratic foreign policy insiders describe her as the top pick for Secretary of State, but concede she could face a difficult confirmation process if Republicans retain control of the Senate. Anthony Blinken, another veteran. Senator Chris Murphy is the one I'm kind of focusing on a little bit because he seems to be kind of more of a centrist in some ways. Get this crap out of it. No, get that crap out of here. All right. Yeah, this, I don't know who this Blinken is. It sounds stupid anyway. Chris Coons, you can't have a name like Chris Coons. No, you're gonna piss off a lot of the woke crowd by having a name like that. No. Tammy Duckworth, yeah. But a whole lot of folks that came from the Obama era and even some of the Bush era as well. So these are the picks that he's going to choose. Western-backed terrorist cry. It really is, yeah.
That's true. It's a true statement. Fact. We need real change there. The reason I knew this was coming with the refugee program, mentioned it 3 months ago, because of the people he brought on board. I knew they were going to do something of this scope. Now, to be honest, I didn't think it'd be this big.
Yeah.
Just saying. But I knew they were going to do something big if he listened to him. He's apparently listening to him.
Yeah, Susan Rice.
He listens to the people that he brought on that advocate arms control, the way he listened to the people who advocated
arms control. Who is advocating for arms control? Who? I'm going to sound like an owl. Who? Who is advocating for arms control in this list? Who? One-time chief counterterrorism and homeland security advisor to Obama. National intelligence. Sue Gordon, CIA spook. Robert Cadillo, 35 years working in the intelligence community. Another spook. Who on this list, unless you have some sort of secret connection? Pete Buttigieg. Oh, wow. It's ridiculous. No. None of these, unless there's some secret list that you have, I don't see anyone on this list that is going to limit arms. Okay? The U.S. is one of the biggest gun-running countries in the world. It's all done, well, a lot of it's done through the CIA, I imagine. But idiots like you, or just disingenuous people like you. Go ahead.
You're going to have a different foreign policy because we're going to be selling less weapons. We're going to be distributing less weapons.
You don't know that. You have no idea, once again.
That means there's less people walking away from stuff falling out of the sky that says made in the USA on it.
It'll say made in South Africa, or it'll be made in, Saudi Arabia, or it'll be made in Canada, or whatever the case may be, or it'll say it'll be made in Turkey. Whichever. You think that somehow that but as long as the US is out of it, or it'll just say made in wherever. You think that it's going to stop? No.
Is it the change you want? Probably not. It probably won't go that far. But it's a reform that might save lives. We have to see.
Might. The key word there is might. M-I-G-H-T. Okay.
We don't know. Haven't seen any announcements on that one yet. When it comes to Biden, you have to understand you're only going to get reform. That's all you're going to get from President Biden. It's all you're going to get from any president.
So we see him here trying to double down, trying to play the centrist game. He's trying to keep, like I said, I've said this before, I'll say it again. He's trying to keep his shit-lib audience happy and still say, vote blue no matter who. He's still going to have those folks. But he's also trying to keep happy the more left-wing folks in his, and I say genuinely left-wing, your anarchists or your Marxist-Leninists. He's trying to keep them happy as well. So he's trying to appeal to both of these groups simultaneously.
Change comes from you. Reform comes from the government.
Change comes from you. So I'm going to change our foreign policy because I'm going to be, holding up a picket sign, or I'm going to be saying, fuck Trump and fuck Biden and all this. That's going to, okay. I don't think it will, but all right. I mean, if you want to lie to yourself and, pretend like we didn't go to war, then okay. But yeah, we'll see.
If you want change, you have to create it. One of the things that was incredible.
Empty, absolutely empty rhetoric. This relies on such individualist garbage to me. It doesn't say join a party. He doesn't say, but you can provide the change. This sounds like a celebrity trying to say, if you only work hard and do this, and you can get a job doing that. You can be like me and be an actor getting, $20,000 an episode on NBC on my hit sitcom or something like that. That's literally what this is. Yeah. I have to ask since I'm watching when I can. Oh, yeah, it's no problem. Yeah. Let's see how his audience feels in a few years. Exactly. Yeah. Change comes from me, an individual. No, it comes from the collective. Exactly. But he says this, such individualist garbage. Where it's just like, oh, well, you need to make the change. How do I do that? How do I do that? Because guess what? It's not going to make a difference for me individually. People are still going to see Americans as evil, regardless of who's president. You think that it's suddenly, you think that the rhetoric that's out there is magically going to change because Biden does a little bit less? No. Go ahead. This is
incredibly hard for me to learn over the course of my life, is that you can't let the good become the enemy of the perfect. This isn't perfect.
The good is the enemy of the perfect. The thing is, I don't get it. Where does he think that the United States is like a halfway house or something? What does he think of it as? What does he think of this landmass? Is this just like a place for wayward people that have been bombed out? This and that. I don't get it. Maybe I'm showing my reactionary spirit, but it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. What does he think? They're just imaginary lines across the border. People have died for those things, sir. People have died for that. Not only the United States, but, look at all the wars that have happened in Europe, whether it's the 40 Years' War, the War of the Roses, or the 30 Years' War, I should say. All these other battles, all these other wars that happen. But he says that it's just a line on a map. That's a disgrace. That is a complete slap in the face to the millions of people who have died for this idea of borders, because they said that this is how I recognize it. But of course, this is how people are. He just says, oh, they're all the same. They're interchangeable.
But it's good. It's something I can accept.
Great man.
And that's one of the things. I've been asked a bunch when I'm going to go after Biden the way I do Trump. It's probably going to happen. I mean, realistically, at some point, that's going to happen. Biden's not even in office yet. The first real decision that has tangible numbers behind it that I have seen that has come from him is something that could save almost 500,000 lives.
You don't know that. Once again, he keeps on saying, well, 500,000 lives can be saved just because they come to the United States. Things are kind of crap here in the United States. It's like, wages are down. Go ahead and keep on asking for $15 an hour. The thing is that the capitalist mode, they'll just be like, you know what? We're just going to have less people. That's all. It's like, well, yeah, you can have your $15 an hour, sure. But instead of paying all these people $7.25, then we're just going to have the 5 people, and we're going to implement more automation, and we're just going to have more people on welfare, and then eventually UBI. If that's the way to live, okay. I mean, if that's the way you want it, so be it. But yeah, to say that, oh yeah, well, things would be better in the United States, it's just, no, that's a lie.
I will give him some breathing room to see what he's going to do.
Breathing room.
Probably give him a couple of months after he takes office. What I can assure you I will not do is criticize a decent, a good policy.
Decent. Oh.
Simply to create false controversy to get clicks on YouTube.
Give me a break. You have done that exact same thing. Do not give me that. Do not try to tell me that you're going to do something for, that you're not going to do something for clicks on YouTube. Give me a break. Let me see here once again. Patreon, Teespring, Podcast. I'm not looking for clicks on YouTube. But please give me money. Even though my wife is apparently a nurse and I have like 2 or 3 kids, apparently, at least according to him. What? I mean, what is this guy doing all day? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. You know what? Let's look at these shitlib comments here. Let's see this. Biden has his kitchen cabinet whilst Trump is throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Oh, you're so clever. Does anyone else think this is Trump trying to get rid of evidence of him and the Republicans looting the Treasury? Yeah, I guess he won't. Yeah, I guess Biden won't do that. Yeah, the GOP is enabling Trump's delusion. In this video, I use the term refugee interchangeably with asylum seeker. There are subtle differences in legal context that are irrelevant to the overall point. I love that. I love that. Where he's just like, I do that every video with him. Where he's just like, yes, it's irrelevant to tell the difference between a refugee and an asylum seeker. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. If there was someone who came from the DPRK that left, they have an equal amount as to, somebody who's coming from Bolivia or some other country. It's the same thing, apparently, in his eyes. Golly, what a slap in the face. God, I mean.
At the end of the day, this movie
Grifters are lumping pros.
500,000 lives. I'm not going to criticize.
Bring some more views. Yeah. There we go.
I think it's a good move. It's a good start. Is it what I want?
It's all good.
No, of course not.
We're almost done anyway.
But it's way better than what we had, and it's something that we can build off of. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Absolute Feiwa. All right. Absolute Feiwa. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all for watching. Like I said, I think tomorrow we'll go ahead and watch a Kung Fu movie tomorrow. I found a good one. I genuinely like this film. So we'll go ahead and watch that tomorrow. And but yeah, I figure I'd do a quick one. Yep, see you later, Incel Gen 2. I'm about to end this pretty soon anyway. But I appreciate y'all vibing with me for about half an hour, and hope y'all have a good rest of the day. See you later, and goodbye.